Hey everybody, and Tony here with a review of Wagner's Die Walküre with conductor Antonio Papanno, which was live from the Royal Opera House. I was really excited to tune into this particular radio transmission because this boasted an all-star cast consisting of Nina Stemme as Brunhilde, Emily McGee as Sieglinde, Stuart Skelton as Siegmund, John Lundgren as Wotan, Sarah Connolly as Fricka, and Ayin Anger as Hunding. Let's not waste any time and talk about the singers right now, starting off with John Lundgren as Wotan. And he was the absolute standout, not only among the male soloists, but also all of the soloists. He was completely immersed in Wotan's character, both vocally and theatrically. I can never go wrong with Herr Lundgren in this particular role, as he was able to make fantastic use of his Helden baritone voice, which is so rich, voluminous, metallic, expressive, and most of all, virile. In fact, virile is definitely the best adjective to describe Mr. Lundgren in terms of how he performed Wotan. He was even able to find some ambiguity to this particular character, thus making everything he accomplished as this particular father figure so wonderful from beginning to end. He did not show any sign of fatigue whatsoever, and for that, I salute him for everything he did and for being such a true professional, especially in the Wagnerian repertoire. Sarah Connolly was a pretty solid Fricka, as she's always been. Yes, she is no Regina Resnick or Nell Rankin, Blanche Thebaum, Christa Ludwig, or even Mignon Dunn, but I still have to give her a lot of credit for embodying this goddess of marriage. Sure, her voice is not a true dramatic mezzo a la Margareta Klose or Karin Bransell, Kerstin Thorborg, among many other great dramatic mezzos of the past. But it had expressivity, and it had this type of metallic sharpness that made her stand out pretty well. And of course, you can always expect someone like Madame Connolly to be so versatile in everything she accomplished. This is a mezzo-soprano who had her beginnings as a lyric mezzo, specializing in a lot of the trouser roles like Romeo from Bellini's I Capuletti e Montecchi and even Giulio Cesare from Handel's Giulio Cesare. These days, she seems to specialize in the more dramatic mezzo repertoire like Brangena from Tristan und Isolde, for example. So even though Sarah Connolly may not be a true dramatic mezzo to my ears, I still have to give her a lot of credit for being so gung-ho in this particular performance and for showing a lot of versatility, beauty, strength, and willingness as Fricka. Ayin Anger was a wonderful Hunding. With his trademark basso cantante voice and his expressivity, he was able to make this particular character come alive even though he is rather thankless. He was able to put in a great amount of menace and also use that basso cantante voice to the greatest of his abilities. He was able to be so involving in this role, and for that, he deserves an A+ for everything he did. Stuart Skelton was phenomenal as Siegmund. In fact, I would go out of my way and say that he and Mr. Lundgren were the absolute standouts from all the cast members. What more can I expect from someone like Stuart Skelton, especially in his great forte of the Helden tenor repertoire? He has a richness, a robust quality, a voluminous sound, and great diction, which made him all the more excellent in this wonderful character. He was able to use that robust Heldentenor voice of his and make it bloom and bloom and bloom. And I was practically eating out of the palms of his hands every time he opened his mouth. That just shows you how much I am totally entranced with Mr. Skelton in terms of not only his singing, but also his skills as a singing actor. He threw himself into the role so magnificently. He gave 110%, and for that, he was and will always be one of the finest Zygmunds I have ever heard. Emily McGee was alright as Sieglinde, even though her voice nowadays shows a little bit of wear and tear. Once upon a time when Emily McGee was in her prime, her voice had that focus, richness, roundness, and that great quality which I love in many a spinto soprano. I'm pretty sure that these days a little bit of that wear and tear probably comes from the fact that she was also taking on much heavier roles like Salome and Isolde, just to name a few. What I mean by wear and tear is that there were times that her chest notes didn't really sound that full, nor rich, nor even that seductive, and sometimes her high notes sounded sharp and shrill. However, if I were to take all of those shortcomings out of the way, I still have to say that Emily McGee is a very dedicated, diligent, and strong performer. She was able to carry this role so well in terms of her theatricality and in terms of the anguish she manages to emit in Sieglinde. And for that, her efforts can never go ignored. In fact, I acknowledge her efforts as a singing actress, as she was able to throw herself in Sieglinde's shoes really well. So in spite of all the flaws that were present with Madame McGee in terms of her almost hollow chest notes and her shrill high notes, I still have to say that she was able to do a really solid effort in terms of embodying Sieglinde. In terms of how I thought about Nina Stemme's Brunhilde, a role that she has been performing for quite some time, I have this to say. She is rather decent in the role, as in she throws herself in really well, and she is meticulous as to where she has to let certain phrases fly and where she has to really put in a lot of oomph. However, there were times I felt like her voice leaned towards the squally side, and there were times I felt like she lacked a little bit of focus, especially when she was singing all of those challenging notes. I would have loved to have a voice akin to Astrid Varnay, Gertrud Grob-Brandl, Birgit Nilsson, Rossi-Deli, Martha Mödel, or even a lot of the great dramatic sopranos of the past who attempted Brunhilde. But I digress. I still have to say that Nina Stemme managed to put in a lot of effort into making this character come alive, even though there were some moments in which her high notes sounded kind of squally and sounded a little bit all over the place. The other show stealers definitely had to be the Valkyries. From Alwyn Mellor's steely, rich, voluminous, and dare I say strong Gerhilde, Maida Hundeling's wonderful, phenomenal, focused, and beautiful Helmwige, Lisa Davidson's focused, clear, strong, and powerful Ortlinde, Kai Rüttel's gorgeous and absolutely beautiful Waltraute, Claudia Huckel's steely, strong, and absolutely metallic Schwertleite, Catherine Carby's round, rich, and seductive Sigruna, Monika-Evelin Leaves full-bodied, full-toned, and rich Grimgerde, and Emma Carrington's voluminous, chesty, and absolutely powerful Rosweise. So overall, the singing was actually pretty decent when all is said and done. However, the standouts were indubitably John Lundgren as Wotan, Stuart Skelton as Sigmund, and the 8 Valkyries in the forms of Alwin Melor, Maida Hundeling, Lisa Davidson, Kai Rutel, Claudia Huckle, Catherine Carby, Monika-Evelin Leaf, and Emma Carrington. They were able to pull off their roles phenomenally, and for that, their efforts and everything they have done as singing actors and actresses can never go ignored. And I also have to give a fair amount of kudos to Emily McGee, Sarah Connolly, and Nina Stemme, and even Ayn Anger for doing really good jobs on their parts. They were able to carry through when all is said and done, and for that, they were definitely pros in everything they have accomplished. The conducting done by Antonio Pappano was meticulous and absolutely riveting. He knows how to move that orchestra with such great expertise that I am caught at the edge of my seat every time he was able to lead that orchestra so magnificently. My jaw literally dropped every time he was able to tease in certain phrases and every time he was able to emit such passion and such beauty found in the orchestra of the Royal Opera House. And of course, the orchestra of the Royal Opera House was absolutely amazing from beginning to end. So overall, with 2 strong male performers in the forms of Stuart Skelton and John Lundgren, and of course the exceptional work done by the 8 Valkyries, Alwin Melor, Maida Hundeling, Lisa Davidson, Kai Rutel, Claudia Huckle, Catherine Carby, Monika-Evelin Leaf, and Emma Carrington, and of course, the efforts done by Nina Stemme, Emily McGee, Sarah Connolly, and Ayn Anger, I have to say that I definitely enjoyed this particular transmission of Wagner's Die Walküre. And for those of you who listened to the Royal Opera House's transmission of Wagner's Die Walküre, what did you think of it? Was there a singer who stood out to you so much? Did you feel like there was a singer who stuck out to you like a sore thumb? Or did you feel like the ensemble work was not really to your liking? Comment below and let me know. Well, that's all for now. Be sure to tune in for another opera review. So until then, good night everybody and happy holidays.